So, welcome to the next in our online series of messages brought to you by the friends at the First Church Raleigh in Raleigh, Massachusetts. This is Reverend Tom Bentley, the pastor. We hope these messages can help you in your journey of life. If you'd like to know more about the church, there's a little information for you at the end of this video. So, peace and best wishes. So grace and peace to you from our friend Jesus. Jesus tells a lot of stories. Today we're going to look at perhaps his most famous one. It's the story of the prodigal son, and we're reading the translation in the Message translation. Then he said, "There was once a man who had 2 sons. The younger said to his father, 'Father, I want right now what's coming to me.' So the father divided the property between them. It wasn't long before the younger son packed his bags and left for a distant country. There, undisciplined and dissipated, he wasted everything he had. After he'd gone through all his money, there was a bad famine all through the country, and he began to feel it. He signed on with a citizen there who assigned him to his fields to slop the pigs. He was so hungry he would have eaten the corn cobs in the pig slop, but no one would give him any. That brought him to his senses. He said, 'All those farm hands working for my father sit down to 3 meals a day, and here I am starving to death. I'm going back to my father. I'll say to him, Father, I've sinned against God. I've sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son. Take me on as a hired hand.' He got right up and went home to his father. When he was still a long way off, his father saw him. His heart pounding, he ran out, embraced him, and kissed him. The son started his speech. 'Father, I've sinned against God. I've sinned against before you. I don't deserve to be called your son ever again.' But the father wasn't listening. He was calling to the servants, 'Quick! Bring a clean set of clothes and dress him. Put the family ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Then get a prize-winning heifer and roast it. We're going to feast. We're going to have a wonderful time. My son is here, given up for dead and now alive, given up for the lost and now found.' And they began to have a wonderful time. All this time, his older son was out in the field. When the day's work was done, he came in. As he approached the house, he heard the music and dancing. Calling over one of the houseboys, he asked what was going on. He told him, 'Your brother came home. Your father has ordered a feast, barbecued beef, because he has him home, safe and sound.' The older brother stomped off in an angry sulk and refused to join in. His father came out and tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't listen. The son said, 'Look how many years I've stayed here serving you, never giving you one moment of grief, but have you ever thrown a party for me and my friends? Then this son of yours who has thrown away your money on whores shows up, and you go all out with a feast.' His father said, 'Son, you don't understand. You're with me all the time, and everything that is mine is yours. But this is a wonderful time, and we had to celebrate. This brother of yours was dead, and he's alive. He was lost, and he's found.'" We're invited to see who we are most like in this story. How about you? Do you identify with the younger son? The one who ran off and had this life that just about destroyed him, and he came back to the father? Or perhaps you identify more with the older son, who was upset by the whole process. No matter which role we're in, we're introduced to the vulnerability and the confusion we experience in life. The younger son absolved himself from sonship, didn't he? He said, I'm done with this thing. I want what's mine. I'm going off to live a life that I want to live. I don't have to be contained by unfair boundaries in my existence. I want what's mine now. And he asked for this inheritance before his father was dead. But the father responded by giving this young boy a chunk of the estate before he died, before the father died. And off the guy went and had a great old time spending it, and wasting his life in the process to the point where he dissipated whatever he had and was destitute. The older son also absolved his sonship. He broke away from the father. He stood away in judgment on all of this and rejected the invitation to be in that space of grace that the father offered him. In bitterness and resentment, he cut himself off from that source. Both of these people in the story refuse to connect to this unconditional love that the Father shows. And each, oddly enough, in their own way, got something for this breaking away. The young son partied till he was exhausted. He broke away from the rules of life. He went on a toot. The older son got something too. He felt righteous. He felt like there was some sensibility to what he was doing, and the father had kind of lost his marbles. Each of us in our life can fall on either side. It's up for you to reflect if you've broken away and gone off to do things that were self-destructive at someone else's expense, and maybe a parent, maybe someone close to you. Did you try to find your way back, or did you kind of write that off as some mistake in life? Or are you the older son who was loyal and true and consistent, but somehow in you there's a resentment there that something hasn't come back to you as it should? This is what this story does. It spreads out for us those two impossible dilemmas, yet they're resolved. They're resolved in a way that few people, if they think about it, really like, in the sense, can they appreciate it? Can you appreciate, can you and I grasp what happened here? This father is unconditional love. No condition at all. No matter what these people did, they continue to be loved as they are and received as they are into this relationship, into this gift. And it's understood in this story that Jesus tells, the gift is being the Son of the Father. Now it's interesting, we call Jesus God's Son. Henry Nouwen was a writer of great insight, guiding us in these spiritual struggles in life. He was a Catholic priest from Holland, and he wrote over 40 books. And you can sense in the books that he's writing these commentaries and this analysis and these reflections to try to find in his own life some sense of balance. And he instructs all of us as we struggle to find the same. But it's fair to say that Henry was tortured at points in his life with pain and sorrow. While looking at a painting by Rembrandt, The Return of the Prodigal Son, Henry Nouwen was moved to understand things about his own life. And there's a book of the same title as the painting, which it's important to read, I think, for anyone who has any sense of faith in this Christian journey. Because Henry identified that, yes, there's a story in the young son who squanders everything and runs off. There's also a story in that elder son. And Henry, surprisingly enough, as you read the book, identifies more with that elder son the doing good and misunderstood and underappreciated individual. All his life, Henry competed to be the best, and he was the best in many ways. An articulate author, a leader, a guide in this Christian experience, a contemplative often, a guider for others in their prayer, yet Henry inside felt empty often and unconnected. And a crisis came up in his life towards the end, near as he got older, and he realized in this bitter place, being the elder son, he was cutting himself off from the grace of God. He invites us to a spiritual maturity. This story is one of the more powerful ways to understand what's possible. We're invited to be the Father in this story. A place that it's hard to imagine we can go. But if we are so beloved and so received that out of that bounty of grace we have so much more, we can give it to anybody, whether they deserve it or not. This is not an invitation to license and excess for someone else. This is an invitation to truly belong, to truly be loved and affirmed. And if we can do that with someone else, we have to first do it with ourselves. We have to know that we're the beloved one. And no matter where we've messed up and fallen short of whatever measure we have for ourselves, we never fall short of God's love for us. We never have to earn that love. And that's the message in the life of Jesus, who was, yes, in an odd way, the prodigal son lost in the suffering world, where he went out into the far land, the distant land, the desert, and he struggled out in there and came back, though, not to be subservient to this invitation to be the elder son, the one who earns his way to the supposed well-being. But Jesus became fully embraced and of the Father, this radical love that receives each of us. And that is the healing. That is the redemption. So think of your own life, and maybe there's some short ends there that need to be filled in by this unconditional love. It's waiting for you. It's powerful. And it will contradict most of the up-the-organization meritocracy we live in today. We never earn our way to being all that God calls us to be. We simply are invited to be all we are. So in the spirit of that embrace, I say, best wishes in your journey, whether you're in the distant land or standing near the door refusing to go in because, well, they just don't understand. May we be with the Father who invites us in, so much so that someday we are fully with and of the Father. And in the name of that one, that presence of divine creative love in the universe, I say, Amen. So thank you for spending time with us. If you'd like to know more about the First Congregational Church of Rowley, you can go online at firstchurchrowley.org. And of course, we'd always like to hear from you, so give us a call anytime at 978-948-3993. This is Reverend Tom, the pastor, saying goodbye and thanks for being with us.